Chord Theory 1. The structure of major and minor chords. The usefulness of chord theory shouldn't be underestimated. It can be used for writing music, creating new chord shapes, or just understanding why one chord name can have several chord shapes. To help you understand this theory and other theory, it's useful to know as many scales as possible. For this theory, you'll need the major scale and the minor scale, natural or harmonic. It's also useful when learning theory to know as many notes on the fretboard as possible, or to have a fret map at hand. The structure of the major chord. Every major chord is constructed using a triad, and a triad is a group of 3 notes. The first, the third and the fifth note of the major scale with the same name. So, if we were to take C major for example, the chord would be constructed of the first, third and fifth note of the C major scale. This would be C, E and G. The triad of C major then would be C, E and G. All C major chords then are constructed using these 3 notes. When playing chords on a guitar, it's quite common to play 4, 5 or 6 strings. When you're doing this, you're literally repeating the notes of the triad in a higher octave. You'll also notice most of the time the triad is out of order. The order of the notes is determined by the tuning of your guitar and the physical capabilities of your fingers. It is recommended though that you start the chord with the root or the note that gives the chord its name, in this case C. The structure of the minor chord. The structure of the minor chord follows the same rules as the major chord, but this time we use a minor scale. In this example we're using the scale of A minor natural, and the first note is A, the third note is C, and the fifth note is E. So the triad of A minor is A, C and E. So all A minor chords are built using the triad A, C and E. A simple rule that can be taken from this tutorial is that the triad of a scale will always produce the chord with the same name. So for example, the triad of A major will produce an A major chord. The triad of A minor will produce an A minor chord. The triad of G major will produce a G major chord, and the triad of G minor will produce a G minor chord. And this rule will hold true for all major and minor scales. Chord inversions. Chord inversions aren't a very important part of guitar theory, so if you don't want to continue or don't understand this part of the tutorial, there's nothing to worry about. An inversion is when, for whatever reason, the root of the chord, or the note that gives the chord its name, isn't the first note to be played. With the major and minor chord, there are only 2 inversions, the first inversion and the second inversion. The first inversion is when the third note of the scale, or the second note of the triad, is played first. A second inversion is when the fifth note of the scale, or the third note of the triad, is played first. For example, if you are playing a C open chord and you played the bottom E string first, this is a first inversion because we're playing the second note of the triad first. If, on the other hand, you play a G first, this would be a second inversion because you're playing the third note of the triad. It's reasonably common to see a C with a G bass, this being the second inversion.